Welcome to Mid-Ohio, where the only thing tougher than the track might be the weather. Bring an umbrella, bring a helmet, and buckle up. This is VP Racing SportsCar Challenge, and it could get interesting very quickly here today. In round two of the weekend for VP Racing SportsCar Challenge from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Welcome in, everyone. Brian Till with you, along with Ryan Marine. Fans say the weather has not dampened their spirit on the hill. They've got their umbrellas, their slickers, and they are ready to watch some exciting three-class sports car racing from here at one of the country's most challenging road courses. So let's take a look. Mid-Ohio, just in between Cleveland and Columbus, Ohio, about halfway in between, sits this very technical racetrack, old school for sure. 2.4 miles in its original configuration. In the pro course that will run today, it's 2.2, and good passing opportunities at the keyhole and turn 4. The carousel is tricky, leads you onto the front straightaway, but Mother Nature changes everything. It changes the line around this racetrack, certainly changes the amount of grip that you have, and it will just up the ante in the action that we're sure to see on track today. Cars on the grid, headed out. Ryan Marine, we saw a good one yesterday and some good action in the drive, but a completely different complexion today. This racetrack completely different.
No question about it. This track is challenging enough in the dry, and in these wet conditions, that challenge just gets ramped up an extra notch or two. That's always been true around this place, but after the repave a couple of years ago, the water starts to pool in some different areas, so some of those old techniques maybe from some of the veterans who knew the quick way around here in the rain don't necessarily translate from the old pavement to the new. But that said, we saw that it can be driven on in the open wheel race that preceded this one. It's just going to be a real challenge for everybody involved.
I think challenge may be an understatement. The good thing is I think the rain is moving out, and so the track will begin to dry a little bit, but as you can tell, it is very, very wet right now. Take a look at the starting grid there on the left of the screen. 3 different classes in VP Racing Sports Car Challenge. The LMP3 or the prototype class, then GTDX, which are GT3-based machinery, and then GSX, which are GT4-based machines.
That's right, and once again, we see Valentino Catalano starting on pole. It looked like this was going to be another win for him yesterday in LMP3. A power steering issue, we've learned, is what caused him to drop down the order in the late stages of that race, and Corey Lewis ended up taking the win in his season debut in VP Racing Sports Car Challenge. Jake Walker on pole. That's his fourth straight pole now. He's a winner of 3 straight in GTDX. But how about Ian Porter with the qualifying effort to put him on pole? He's a race winner already this season, but he's got his teammate in the championship leader Kiko Porto behind him. Stephen Clemens, who had a brilliant day yesterday as well, starting behind him as well. I think we're in for a real fight there in the GSX class today.
So there's the look at Jake Walker. Remember, we talked about this yesterday, Ryan. 0 points in round 1 of the season at Daytona, and then minimal points in round 2, but has just come on like gangbusters since then, winning every race I believe that he's entered since that point in time. And so he is just on an absolute tear moving forward. Both rounds at COTA and then the race here yesterday. Moving up in the championship points, he actually picked up 3 spots in the championship yesterday with that victory, and the season far from over. This is just round 6 of 12. So if Jake Walker can keep doing what he's doing, he may have a shot at this championship. And the race winner from yesterday in GSX, 76, and Stephen Clemens, what a great job he did.
Tremendous. He had to fend off the championship leader, the guy who dominated this series up to this point, and Kiko Porto, who had to start at the back, let's remember, yesterday, lost his qualifying times, but raced his way up into contention there towards the end of the race. Ultimately, though, Clemens had the pace. He had the fastest lap of the race. He was able to keep Porto behind in that final run to the checkered and earned a much-deserved first career win.
So we were being told that we'll do an extra pace lap, but we'll do a side-by-side start, was the last report that I got from race control just a few minutes ago. That extra pace lap, just to let these drivers get a look at this racetrack. So the clock starts at the end of the second pace lap here at Mid-Ohio. We start on the back straightaway, and with an extra lap behind this beautiful gold livery Acura Integra safety car. I mean, this, like I was saying, this gives the drivers a look at this racetrack. They have not been on it all weekend long in these conditions. So right now as a driver, Ryan, I think you're out there trying to ascertain not only where there is grip, but where are there puddles, because you're going to get puddles and some rivers running across the racetrack because of drainage. And so you got to get all of that fresh in your mind, because the next time they come by here, it's going to be a green flag that's waving halfway down the back straightaway, and you better know what's lays in front of you. There's a look at the radar right there. The rain's going to be moving out, but I'm not sure you want to be the leader on this start, right? Right, Ryan? You kind of want to sit back and let somebody else go explore.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. You might take the advantage of watching somebody else test those limits. Now, the downside, of course, is you don't have the great vision with all the spray coming up from behind these cars running in the slipstream. That can really challenge you there. But having somebody else test to see where there's the grip, there is some value in that for sure. And when we talk about why this track is so challenging in the wet, it is that the undulation, the hills of this place that makes it such a difficulty, because you do end up with pools of water at certain places, like right there at Apex at the bottom of the hill. This is coming out of the carousel onto the pit straight where you get some pools of water. And when you get standing water like that, there's the chance for aquaplaning and some crazy moments. This place always has brought some of that, but again, I think that challenge has just ramped up since the repave.
I agree. The fresh pavement last year kind of took a rain line away. You could still drive where you normally did, but in just a year, it's kind of returned to its old personality. And then a little reshaping of turn 4 at the end of the back straightaway this year has added a little bit of interest there, because water puddles where it didn't before, but something that all the drivers will have to deal with. You see that beautiful Acura pace car into pit lane. That means we will start this time down the back straightaway if everybody is lined up accordingly. And they should be pairing up as they head down to the keyhole. But right now, I guarantee you, drivers still trying to figure out, all right, where do I want to be on this first lap? Again, no driver has run in the rain here this weekend, so this is all exploratory right now. And it's about to get serious really quickly.
There was some discussion about whether or not they might do a single file start to get this race started, but the decision was made to do the traditional side-by-side start, and we're going to get a show because of it. The LMP3 cars starting to separate themselves from the GT classes, and this is the keyhole now, the run onto that back straightaway, which means the green flag is imminent.
Pull those belts down tight. It's about time to go green, and if you'll remember, for Tunho yesterday outside the front row, he crossed columns before the line. He does not do it today. Stays right where he should. Green flag waves. We are racing in round 6 of the VP Racing SportsCar Challenge from Mid-Ohio, and Tunho immediately looks to the outside of Catalano as they go through turn 4. Catalano is going to have the preferred rain line through 5 if he can hold there. But wow, what a job by Tunho down the hill. Some standing water down here at the apex and just off the corner. How will they negotiate that?
Wow, what a move from Tunho there. That was really bold around the outside, but he grabs the lead away from his teammate. I thought Corey Lewis might be one to watch on the start, given his history and his track knowledge here at Mid-Ohio. Surely he's got some laps around this place in the wet, but it was Tunho who was the aggressor, and he's brought that purple car to the front of the field.
Through turn 11, a couple of little rivers of water that run across there at turn in, and then into the carousel, one of the most difficult corners in the rain. Standing water in the middle, and then at the exit of this corner, and then onto the front straightaway. And really the best grip here in the carousel is right on the outside edge of the racetrack. These drivers are gonna have to learn that as they go. And Adam Adelson putting pressure in his green number 24 Porsche on the race winner from yesterday, Jake Walker, aboard the number 6, that beautiful yellow BMW out of Turner Motorsport.
Walker's got his hands full there. He takes that wide rain line through turn 1, but it left the door open, and the Porsche needed no second invitation. Porsche traditionally really good in these conditions with that rear engine platform, and Adam Adelson knows exactly what he needs to do with it. That was fantastic, knifing through to get around the guy who's won the last 3 races in class.
Yeah, you talked about the weight distribution of the Porsche with the engine in the back of that car. It's going to really sit down, put the power down well. And right now, Adam Adelson looks like he has a lot of confidence. Remember, Wright Motorsport, based in Batavia, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, call this their home track, and so they've got some track knowledge here. Looks like Adam Adelson using it to his advantage. Here's a look at the start, and Oscar Tunjo in the purple number 31 to the outside, looks around the high side of turn 4 and gets the job done. They run side by side through these next couple of corners, but bold move by Tunjo, and he makes it stick.
That's really fantastic stuff. And again, 2 teammates there as well, fighting at the front of the field. So there was some risk involved going side by side with your teammate like that, but good respect between the 2 of them. Tunjo able to get through to the lead. Now, we saw that change of position between Adelson and Walker, but that's actually happened behind AJ Muss in GTDX. So AJ Muss has taken his AF Corsa Ferrari to the front of the field in that class. That's something to keep an eye on, but as we say that, you could see right here, Adelson starting to reel him in.
I don't know exactly how Muss got there, but you know, he's aggressive as an Olympic snowboarder. He knows how to push the limits. He's doing so right now, and Adam Adelson now trying to get past the prototype of Brian Thenis. We saw this yesterday, the LMP3 cars and the GTDX cars, kind of a similar pace, but they have advantages in completely opposite sections of the racetrack. The downforce on the prototype should help Thenis through the tighter sections of the racetrack. And that's where Adam Adelson's going to try to have to find the way by. He's got anti-lock brakes, and we saw Jake Walker just off in the keyhole.
Wow, that's the guy who's got so much wind in his sails right now with those 3 wins, 3 poles, and 3 fastest laps in a row. Started on pole again here today, but the off there in the keyhole, and that's allowed some of the GSX front runners to get by. Porto has gone to the lead in GSX ahead of Porter and Clemens, the winner yesterday. So this rain has really shuffled things up here, at least in the early stages.
And for Jake Walker, he just needs to keep his composure, keep his wits about him. The thing that's so difficult about this racetrack is that in the rain, a lot of the grip, especially in the carousel and the keyhole, is on the far left edge of the racetrack, right up against the grass. And if you make the smallest mistake there, you're gonna drop left side tires off the racetrack into that wet grass, and you're gonna go for a ride.
Yeah, it's so true. That's where you find the grip in the rain, right at the edge of the track. But of course, if you just have one of those little twitchy moments and you drop one of those wheels in the wet grass, it's pretty much all over at that point. And we have got a lot of gravel traps around this place too, those sand pits, which will catch errant cars. That's good news in terms of keeping cars out of the wall, but in conditions like these, it's easy to find yourself there, and that can lead to full course yellows, as there's not an easy way to get out of those gravel traps. That would require an intervention from the safety crew.
Saw Jake Walker trying to get by Ian Porter as the number 8 of Kiko Porto leads, and for Walker, he's got more horsepower, but both the GSX and GTDX cars have anti-lock braking systems and traction control, and that traction control comes into play big time in these slick conditions. But when you go across these rivers of water and through these puddles, all the driver aids in the world aren't going to do you a lot of good. Physics is physics, and if the car hydroplanes, you really need to make sure that it's straight when you go across these puddles. They both had a little bit of a problem getting power down, coming onto the front straightaway through that puddle of water there out of the final turn.
Now this is a great lesson in the young career of Jake Walker, as we've seen over the last 3 races. He's immensely talented. He's got a great team behind him as well in Turner Motorsport. We saw Robbie Foley a little bit earlier in the show. He was watching on, coaching from up on the pit box. What a great asset to have. Oh, a moment here for the 4. That's DiBenedetto, who is off track and able to get back on. That's down at China Beach, down at the exit of turn 4, and he rejoins in front of one of the GT4 cars, the GSX cars from Turner. Easy to do in these conditions, Brian. Easy just to slip off that little bit, as we've talked about, but a good job to get back on track.
Yeah, good job to just kind of straighten his hands, ride it out, and get the car back on the track. Like you said, right now for Oscar Tunjo, no problems there. A 7.5-second lead over Valentino Catalano. Let's see what happens. Wow, he was way off the racetrack. Justin DiBenedetto, I should say, through the gravel there and able to keep the wheels turning, and that's kind of the key. Ryan, you get off in that gravel and you stop for any period of time, you're going to get sucked down into it. And if you can keep the car moving, you have a better chance of getting out. And of course, the rain kind of firms it up a little bit as well, and that helps.
That probably did help him get out of there, as Clemens now is going on the attack. This is for second in GSX. It's Ian Porter to the inside in the white car, but giving chase there is Clemens, who has run him down over the last lap or so.
You know what, Clemens was so impressive yesterday in his run. We talked about the problems that Kiko Porto had because of the ride height infraction in qualifying. But for Clemens, a great job of taking advantage of those problems and a good run to the victory. He was so strong at COTA in both rounds there, and he's carrying that momentum into Mid-Ohio.
Absolutely, 3 straight podiums, a second and a third in the 2 races at COTA, but then that big win for him yesterday from pole position, which he inherited after Kiko Porto lost his times in qualifying. And actually, Clemens, although the results don't show it, he was super strong at Daytona as well, but misfortune struck in both races, had a puncture, ran out of fuel in one of the races as well. Finishes of 11th and 15th left him way down in the championship, but this nice run of podium finishes, 3 in a row, has brought him back into that conversation. He just needs to be finishing ahead of Kiko Porto to be able to really enter that championship conversation.
Yeah, he moved up a position in the championship yesterday with the win. He's up 1 and now somebody off. Just as we were talking about Stephen Clemens, that treacherous braking zone into the carousel has him off, but he's right back on. And you come over the crest of the hill and the car gets light, and the last thing you want is the car to get light and lose grip as you come over into the carousel where there is so much water and some standing water in the bottom of it, and you just can't get it slowed down. Just a little too aggressive with that attack into the braking zone into the carousel, and Clemens off.
Well, that cost him a spot on the provisional podium. He's dropped down to 4th. Walsh is through, but he did get some aid, didn't he? Wow.
He did get some help. Ian Porter looking to the inside as he came in there, and maybe the mistake, it looks like, was not for Stephen Clemens. It was for Ian Porter, and pretty sure the officials are going to look at that, and indeed the message on the timing screen is that incident is under review.
Yeah, I mean, that one looks pretty cut and dry, doesn't it? Well, dry is maybe the wrong term in conditions like today, but you follow me. Looked like Porter just didn't quite get that one right, and you got to remember, for Ian, still very new to racing, comes from a super competitive background in competitive esports, a world champion in Call of Duty, and found motorsport just a few years ago. Did a season in single make Porsche racing last year before stepping into this, and he's been a quick study. It's been super impressive, but so much of this is new to him as he drifts that Supra around in the wet.
That was brilliant.
It was great car control for a guy who, again, just doesn't have much seat time coming into this season.
Well, and I think that he took the mindset of the world that he lived in. 3-time world champion in Call of Duty. And yes, there is professional esports if you're not familiar with that. And Ian Porter, one of the best in the business, and took that same mindset into motorsport. He was focused on his fitness. He lost over 30 pounds, and there's the penalty. They called it, and he served it immediately. That's a great call on the part of the team. Get in, serve it, get back out. If we go full course caution, the field will come back to you. So great call there. He'll be upset with himself. But you know what? In these conditions, so easy to do. But like I was saying, Ian Porter takes that same focus and he applied it to motorsports, and it shows. He's at 2nd in the GSX Championship right now. You said it. He was a champion in the Cayman Pro-Am Championship in Porsche Sprint Challenge last year, and you don't win championships without being focused. Look at this battle here for the lead in GTDX. AJ Muss, the Olympic snowboarder, aboard the 66 Ferrari, has Adam Adelson all over that rear wing, and this is going to be interesting. You would think the balance of the Ferrari is good, Ryan, but car that looks like it has been on rails from the drop of the green flag is Adam Adelson in his Porsche.
Absolutely agree with that. He was quickly aggressive at the start to get around Walker, and now has tracked down AJ Muss, who, Brian, is quietly putting together a remarkable season. I mean, he was the championship leader. Oh, as Walker's got another issue. Hopefully he's able to get out of the mud there and get back on track. You could see those back wheels spinning, looking for purchase in the wet grass, and there's just not much to be found, but he does get back out. But quickly back to the Muss story, though. he came in as the championship leader. He had not finished off the podium all season, but he hasn't won yet. He'll look to try and right that here today.
And there's that problem for Jake Walker through turn 11, just gets in there, and again, there's an elevation change there, kind of over the crest of the hill, about halfway through the corner, and the car just cannot get the grip that it needs. It's just a lazy slide about a half car width to the right. The problem with that is it puts those right side tires on the grass, and around Walker goes. Meanwhile, this continues, and again, two really hard-nosed competitors right here. AJ Moss, Adam Adelson. Adelson, a champion in this Porsche in SRO GT World Challenge competition. He knows how to go wheel to wheel. They're doing it right now, and he forces AJ to the outside and takes the position.
Oh, that was outstanding. AJ didn't give him much room. He gave him just enough, and somehow Adelson was able to keep that Porsche underneath him, and man, that was a decisive move to get back to the lead of this race.
Ian Porter back on track, trying to get his way back towards the front of the GSX category. Now trying to get past the 4 of Justin Di Benedetto. Gets that done, so that should move Ian Porter up now into the 5th position, I believe. So trying to charge forward, and as I said, you really just need to stay focused. Don't let the mistake get to you, because if we end up with a full course caution, easy to do here in these conditions with just under 28 minutes to go, the field's going to come back to you, and then you can continue to do battle.
Exactly. Just keep your head down, stay in the game. Wow. Put his left wheels in a puddle there, it looked like. You saw that spray pick up from the left-hand side of the car, and that led to a big twitch. But again, quick hands from Ian Porter. Back to the lead of the race here, and Oscar Tunjo, whose lead has grown, Brian, to 10 seconds. Now, that's what he needed yesterday, if you recall. Exactly. He had that 10-second penalty that he took for changing columns at the start of the race, and Corey Lewis was able to stay within that margin, and that's why Corey ended up with the win yesterday. But, man, this has been domination right from the jump. That bold move into turn, well, 4, the first turn of the race at speed from Tunjo there. Oh, car rejoining right in front of him.
I believe that was Roland Kranz in the 19 off there, and that was very reminiscent to what we saw Jake Walker have a problem there in turn 11 earlier.
Right, but Tunjo really set the tone, didn't he, with that move at the very beginning of the race, going to the outside around his teammate, and he's not looked back since.
Well, and think about it from Valentino Catalano's standpoint. He didn't have a great race yesterday, but he still has the championship lead over now Brian Thenis, who's second. Thenis picked up a position yesterday, and for Catalano, he's comfortable in the championship right now, so why throw it away in the first couple of corners of a race that has absolutely treacherous conditions? Sometimes you need to know when to press and when not to, and for Oscar Tunjo, he has absolutely nothing to lose. He's back in the championship in 5th, well down the order as far as points totals go. Since he did not run the first 2 rounds of the season, he had nothing to lose, and for Catalano, he had everything to lose. And trust me, Oscar Tunjo knows that and knew that as they headed into turn 4. When you look at Tunjo's background, the 29-year-old Colombian knows how to win races, and so he knows the strategy both from behind the wheel and inside the helmet. Oh, look at this. Oh, what is that?
That is Tunjo going past Depew, who's currently down in 9th in GSX. I was wondering why Tunjo was slow on that lap. He was about a second slower than both Catalano and Lewis, and I think that goes a ways towards explaining why.
Oh, and more problems for the 19 of Kranz. We saw him with the problem just a little bit earlier, and that could be a huge issue. Got to get to the grass. Got to get there. Keep him turning. There we go. He should make it back to the racetrack, all downhill from here, but man, that was close. That was turn 9.
I'm with you. I don't know if you can do that in the dry.
I don't think you
can.
The
fact that it's wet sand, it's a little bit more compact, and maybe the tires can bite in a little bit.
Yeah, for Oscar Tunjo, keep an eye on his lap times. They seem to have come back down now to where they should be, but some caution or some adaptation on his part to any damage that he may have. But the lap time comes back to where it is now that of Catalano. The fastest prototype on the racetrack right now, though, is Corey Lewis, some 11 seconds back. But he's a good 2 seconds faster than both Tunjo and Catalano, who are in front of him.
He just did the best Sector 1 of the race on this lap, did Corey Lewis. So let's not forget about Corey. He's got so much experience, but hasn't done much driving this year, which is what made the win for him yesterday so sweet, getting that last second call up to fill in for Matt Dickin. And we wish Matt a quick recovery from a shoulder injury. But man, what a drive from Adam Adelson, who won the first couple of races at Daytona and kind of thought, wow, this could be a sign of things to come for the championship, but he has not won since. However, this has been a really strong performance from him in tricky conditions.
Well, we talked about it for Adam, after winning both rounds at Daytona, he got some success ballast added to his car. The car gained a little bit of weight. That weight came off as we moved to COTA and then in here into Mid-Ohio. Jake Walker is the one who collected that success ballast after COTA coming into Mid-Ohio this weekend. So maybe that's what has that BMW just a little bit off the pace and not being able to quite hold on to what he needs to today in these tricky conditions. But I can tell you, Ryan, what's happening right now for every driver on the racetrack, this is about adapting, because this racetrack is changing literally every lap. This is the battle for second and third in GSX. Walsh has second place. Clemens wants it after the contact that Clemens had with Ian Porter earlier. Porter into the back of that 76 Toyota from BSI Racing put Clemens off in the carousel. He is charged back, and he needs one more step to try to get past Walsh and close in on Porto, but Porto doing what he needs to do to maintain control of the championship, and problems for Frank Depew aboard the 72. We saw that contact a little bit earlier, and is this going to be the yellow that we talked about that changes everything? Trying to get that car back up the hill could be a challenge, just needs to get to the pavement. There it is. And that's in turn one. That is the pit out curbing. And so Frank spun pretty early in turn one to get it over that curbing.
Yeah, he did. I wonder.
Or was he coming out of the pit lane?
That was what I was thinking. There was an incident that was under review.
He's not being shown in timing and scoring as having come to pit lane.
No, you're right. But that incident between Depew and the leader, Tunjo, is being reviewed by race control. I thought maybe that they had called him to pit lane after that, but that's, as you say, not the case. He's not made a pit stop according to timing and scoring. So,
whoa, look at timing and scoring right now, Ryan. Look at the bottom of the screen. Car 31, penalty,
whoa.
Incident responsibility with the 72, 10-second post-race time penalty. Where have we seen this before?
That's true. It's what Oscar had to deal with yesterday, but for very different reasons. So race control has seen what happened there with that contact with Frank Depew, and they have ruled that Tunjo was at fault. So this is big, because all of a sudden Catalano and Lewis are quicker than Tunjo. They are now both inside of that 10-second threshold, and as they run, that penalty would be applied post-race, and Catalano would move forward into the lead, and Lewis would jump up to second.
Catalano had the penalty, or I should say Tunjo had the penalty yesterday for being out of line at the start, a 10-second penalty that cost him the race win. Now this contact, I've got to believe, Ryan, the contact that I saw down at the straightaway, I don't know, it almost looked like Frank Depew was retaliating. Maybe something happened before that we did not see that the officials did. Maybe that's where the penalty came from, because the contact down at the end of the straightaway seemed to be kind of the opposite of this. So this is coming down to turn 4, top of the screen. Catalano comes by, and so they're side by side. Oh, he moves left a little bit, and then Frank Depew moves back into him, but I don't know.
Well, typically you do hear race directors talking about it being the emphasis being on the car that's doing the overtaking, that has a greater burden of responsibility, and so in that case that would be Tunjo. But yeah, I'm not sure based on that that I've seen enough to really warrant a penalty, but that's really not my place to judge, I suppose.
Absolutely. We'll let the officials officiate. We just call the action, and there's plenty of it as Prototype's now working through GSX traffic, and we look at those gaps, Tunjo to Catalano to Lewis. both Catalano and Lewis well inside the 10-second margin, that penalty that he's going to have to pay. And meanwhile, Kiko Porto continues to lead in GSX. Here's a good look at mixed traffic, prototypes past GTDX cars, and there's the 30 of Catalano through turn 4. Corey Lewis right there behind him, gets kind of stacked up behind that Turner Motorsport BMW. That's the 96, I believe, of Matt Dalton. Corey Lewis is through. The question is, with just inside 19 minutes to go, can Corey Lewis track down Valentino Catalano? He is about a half a second to a second a lap faster than Catalano is.
Lewis just did the fastest lap of the race. He's the first driver to get into the 138s at a 138.6. No one else has come even anywhere near that to this point. And I think what you brought up earlier, Brian, about everyone needing to adapt, that's exactly right. We saw that look at the radar earlier. The rain should be lessening as we go throughout the race, which means there should be more grip available. It should get faster if you know where to look for it. And this is where having the experience of a Corey Lewis can really help out. Knowing the track really well, knowing the track in these conditions, and looking for that advantage as it starts to develop.
And it is so nuanced, Ryan, with the rain subsiding and the track draining. Puddles that were there have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, and with the cars circulating around the racetrack, the rain line is going to migrate back towards the dry line a little bit as we go. Who reads the track the best is going to be who has those faster lap times. And right now, Corey Lewis doing a really good job of reading these changing track conditions. But I'll tell you what, Valentino Catalano answered back that last lap and was quicker than Lewis.
Interesting update on the race control call there. Evidently on the radio, it was called as a penalty for the 72 of Depew. It just popped up on timing and scoring as a penalty for the 31. And since Depew has pitted, I wonder if that's an indication that what was called on the radio is correct and maybe there was an error just on the timing and scoring graphic. And that would be great news for Tunho, whose lead continues to dwindle, but if he doesn't have a 10-second penalty coming, and we'll need to get that confirmed, but if that is the case, then he's still in a position where he can at least fight to hang on to the lead here for the final 17 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the team wants to know that. The team would be looking at the timing screen that you and I look at that has the messages from race control on it that called a penalty for the 31. So they need to know and get to their driver and say, either keep pushing and try to get that 10-second lead, or you're comfortable where you are, just maintain.
Right, but I don't know that it's going to be enough because Catalano is coming with a head of steam, as is Lewis. Those two doing 38.3s, 38.2s. Tunho stuck in the 39.2 range, so a second a lap slower. Catalano and Lewis are closing in and have plenty of time. Whoa, big spin.
Huge spin. I believe that is Corey Lewis coming out of the keyhole. We talked about pushing a little bit more each lap, and I think Corey Lewis may have pushed just a little too hard. There's a little bit of a puddle on the outside of the keyhole in these conditions, and I think he may have gotten to that slick pavement, and that Ligier chassis went around quickly. And a problem for Brian Thenis. Will this bring out the full course caution? He is in the tire wall, and in the tire wall hard.
Wow.
This changes everything.
Totally does. Everybody bunched back up. And it's been a remarkably clean race to this point, given the conditions. Thenis had done a nice job, was running good lap times. Actually, he was down in the 38s as well, so he, on the last lap, he had been faster than the leader. Full course yellow, Brian, and this is why.
Yeah, well, look at this. This is the 36. This is Corey Lewis right there. You know what? Brian Thenis is Corey Lewis's best friend right now because the full course caution is out for the problem that Thenis has. This will allow Corey Lewis to get right back where he was, which was on the rear wing of Valentino Catalano, and it's going to put Catalano on the rear wing on a restart with Oscar Tunho. This is going to be quite the battle to the checkered flag. We're inside 15 minutes to go. I wouldn't think it would take too long to get Brian Thenis out. We're going to have about a 10-minute dash to the checkered flag, and you better tighten your belts and hold on because it's going to get wild.
Definitely. This also brings Stephen Clemens into the fight in GSX with Kiko Porto. as well. It brings Ian Porter back up into that conversation after his drive-through penalty. Lots to play for still here in the final 15 minutes. And if you saw that standing white flag at start-finish, that's just to let the drivers know there's a safety vehicle on the course. Here's a look at what happened to Thenis into the keyhole.
He just gets
in braking wrong.
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those things, again, the racetrack's changing every lap. He's up behind a GT car coming in there, so that's going to take some of his downforce away because of the dirty air. And then he gets to the plateau of the keyhole, limited grip there, and with a little less aero on the car than he had before. Remember, no anti-lock braking systems on the prototypes. Both GSX and GTDX do have ABS. And so Thenis gets in there, probably locks a front brake just a little bit, has to modulate or ease off the brake pedal to get the wheels rolling again, and he just can't get enough speed taken off to make the corner.
Yeah, well, tough for him. He had a nice day going. I mean, he was at the bottom of his class, but was running good lap times, and has had a remarkably consistent season to this point. Now, this is interesting.
Yeah, so they're going to do a wave by or a pass around to get the cars that are in front of their class leader around and to the back of the pack. So that'll take a little time, no problem, because safety crews here at Mid-Ohio always on the scene very, very quickly, as are the AMR safety vehicles, and they get there, take care of the driver, and the crews here at the racetrack will extricate that car from the tire wall. There's a road right there in the keyhole that they can remove that car if need be, so they don't have to take it all the way back around the racetrack. And that allows us to get back to racing just a little bit quicker. Not a big hit for Brian Thenis, but with the wet grass and the nose up underneath the tire wall, he's just not going to get out on his own power.
Yeah, exactly. Such a shame, again, for the day that he was having and the weekend he was having. And anyway, interesting, though, there is the car getting pulled out. Doesn't look like, to your point, there's too much damage at the front end of that, and maybe he's able to get back and rejoin the fight.
So the good news is the last report I got from race control, Ryan, was that the penalty that was on the bottom of the timing screen, as you had alluded to, was erroneous, and the radio call was what was accurate. The penalty was on the 72, not the 31. So for a moment in time, Oscar Tunjo could breathe a sigh of relief. Well, guess what? Brian Thenis put that out of the ballpark. Now Tunjo is going to need to focus forward. And the question that I have, remember the lap after the contact, Tunjo was off the pace. And so I wonder if that 31 Duquesne chassis is straight, is as right as it should be, as it can be. Will he have the pace to deal with Catalano and Lewis?
Yeah, I agree. If it was damage that caused it, or I was also wondering, perhaps did the Gebhardt team kind of split the philosophy in terms of setup on their cars and put Tunjo's in a position where in the heavy rain it was going to have a bit more grip, but that might be compromised if the rain lessened like we've seen. But I think your theory is probably better, that perhaps there was some residual damage due to that contact, because for whatever reason, that car has not been the same since, and the pace just hasn't been there relative to Catalano or Lewis to this point.
Well, we've got another leader, and we've had this leader earlier in the race. That is that beautiful gold Acura Integra Type S. Remember, it's built exclusively here in Ohio, down in Marysville, or just outside of Marysville, Ohio. And I know we've got a lot of Honda and Acura fans here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course this weekend, so they're getting their opportunity to lead some laps. But I'll tell you what, Ryan, this restart, it's going to be inside 10 minutes to go when we go back to green. I'm going to look for the lights. They're still on that Acura Integra safety car, so it's going to be at least another lap. It'll be inside 9 minutes to go by the time we go back to green, and you better put your best foot forward. And the question is, we talked about this at the beginning, Oscar Tunjo has nothing to lose. Valentino Catalano has the championship lead. He could throw not all of it away, but he can throw a good portion of it away if he makes a mistake. The only good news for him, Corey Lewis right behind him, he only has run the one race, which was yesterday, and took the victory. So there, and Brian Thenis has had his problems, so Catalano kind of safe where he is. He could probably go for it a little bit. because he'll still get decent points with the smaller prototype field that we have this weekend, but kind of different mindsets among those first 3 drivers here in the prototype category because they're all in a different situation in the championship.
The only thing is, Tunjo and Catalano are teammates, and they're going to have that in the back of their minds. I know it's going for a race win, and racing drivers are going to be inherently selfish in these situations. That's what makes them good, but I do wonder how the 2 teammates will play this.
As a racing driver, who do you want to beat more than anybody else?
Yeah, you're right. It is the teammate, of course. That's a good point. Well, it'll make it fascinating to see how they do decide to play this thing out to the finish.
All right, think about this as well. Duquesne chassis in the hands of Oscar Tunjo and Valentino Catalano. And you think about Catalano, 19-year-old German driver, not a tremendous amount of experience in this class, certainly runs it in Europe and is a champion there in the Prototype Cup Championship in Germany. So he's got a year or so under his belt, but these conditions and on racetracks that he has not been to before, you know, he's lacking a little bit of information. Corey Lewis has been to this racetrack a lot, and even though it was repaved last year, the personality of it remains the same. And you could say the same thing for Oscar Tunjo, the same thing that we said about Valentino Catalano, 29-year-old Colombian. He doesn't know this racetrack, so he's learning it as it goes. Lights out on the Acura Integra safety car will be in this time by, and we will go back to green. Remember, restarts happen on the front straightaway at the finish line. So we're inside 8 minutes, and the Integra pulling away now, and will leave the field to be controlled by Oscar Tunjo here on the restart.
Hey, Brian, one more thing to think about with Tunjo and Catalano. They're not just teammates here, but they share a car in Michelin Le Mans Cup in Europe, and they're supposed to be sharing a car on the support bill for the 24 Hours of Le Mans next week. That could be pretty awkward if things don't go well here on this restart.
Yeah, how will dinners be when they head over to France if they get together? And Tunjo with a little slide as he comes onto the front straightaway, gets a good jump. And you got to kind of throw caution to the wind here. You know what the racetrack looked like, and if you did your homework on that last safety car lap, you looked for puddles. How has the racetrack changed? What can I do? Where can I press? We're about to find out. Tunjo into the keyhole, looks to the middle of the racetrack now, able to move down towards the middle a little bit. And look at this, Adam Adelson into the back of Corey Lewis. Once again, the GTDX cars with ABS and traction control. Adelson stuck his nose in there. The officials are going to look at that, but that will not help out Corey Lewis, who sits stranded in the middle of the racetrack.
Oh, that's a terrible place to be if you're Corey Lewis, to have that whole field of GT cars streaming towards you. Somehow they were able to avoid him. That's fantastic driving by both GTDX and GSX class cars there, but this is huge. This is the leader in GTDX that's caught up in this, the green Porsche into the red prototype. And if the officials rule on this, that could take the lead and perhaps the win away from Adelson.
That is huge, like you just said. I mean, and I won't call it a mistake for Adam Adelson. They were just running completely different lines because they can. Again, with the traction control in the GTDX car, he could probably be down on the pavement, and he's thinking about AJ Muss behind him. He's in his own race. He's really not thinking about Corey Lewis. And when Lewis comes back to that dryer line in the middle of the racetrack at corner exit, that's where the contact is made. The question is, how are the officials going to see that? Did the 24 hit the 36, or did the 36 hit the 24?
Now, a lot riding on this decision.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. And it is under review right now in race control. So we'll wait, and we will see as they run. It's the two Gebhardt teammates, Tunjo and Catalano, leading in LMP3. Adelson continues to lead Muss, but he has that prospect of a penalty hanging over his head, perhaps, depending on how that contact is ruled on. And AJ Muss sitting there in second. He's yet to win a race this season, but he is the points leader in GTDX. Could this be his day?
Inside 5 minutes to go. The race for the prototype win will happen on the racetrack. In GTDX, it may happen in race control with that problem for Adelson and Corey Lewis just moments ago. Meanwhile, Kiko Porto still holds the lead over Walsh, who's on board that number 22 in GSX. So good battles there. And Stephen Clemens, the problems earlier in GSX when he got together with Ian Porter, I should say. That's still the Porto and Porter thing on the same team is always a tongue twister, Ryan. But for Stephen Clemens, he's trying to take the fight to Walsh in the 22.
Yeah, that's right. Doing his best at the moment to get back up there. Kiko Porto's done a nice job to build a gap here subsequent to the restart. Walsh up to second. This would be his best result of the season if he can hang on. Clemens, and then Porter's not too far back either, but he has a couple of GTDX cars in between that are complicating things. My, oh my. How about this, though? We were wondering, is Tunho's car okay? He just did a 137 flat. That's the best lap of the race by over half a second, or roughly half a second. And he's going faster here on this lap.
What I think is impressive is Brian Thenis is still out there, even after the damage that he sustained with that problem in the keyhole. So he's still out there 2 laps down now as they work to extricate him. He lost those laps on the racetrack, but 2 laps down, but he's still circulating.
And you just don't know what could happen. You can be there to pick up the pieces. And I mean, we nearly saw Corey Lewis taken out of this race. That could have been a position for him. Instead, Lewis continues. So Thenis is still running down there in 4th, but nevertheless, good experience for him.
Speaking of 4th, Samantha Tan trying to get past Stephen Clemens. And for Samantha Tan, she's got the BMW just behind her of Vin Barletta, the white BMW, and Clemens doesn't want to just let her by because he's trying to trace down Chris Walsh aboard the 22 Porsche, that light blue Porsche that heads down into turn 6 just in front of him. They're mired in their own battle, and Tan and Barletta are fighting over 4th position in GTDX.
Big ruling from race control, Brian. No action taken.
And look, it's an unpopular decision. Either way it comes down, right, Ryan? I mean, for AJ Moss, he's going, come on, man. He moved the guy in front of him. And for Corey Lewis, he's going, well, it wouldn't have helped me out if you penalized him at all because I still lost the position on the racetrack, and I'm well back in the order now. But for AJ Moss, he's thinking there needed to be a penalty. And for Adam Adelson, he's going, there's nothing I can do. Takes a breath, sigh of relief, focuses forward, and has the lead in GTDX. It will not be taken away from him in race control. AJ Moss is going to have to do it on the racetrack if he can get it done.
There is a penalty, however, coming to Ian Porter. This is for a pass under yellow, evidently, and he has been assessed 10 seconds. That will take effect post-race, so he needs to get his head down and try and build the gap. This would cost him at least 1 spot as it runs to Justin DiBenedetto. But boy, that's another costly penalty there for Porter, his 2nd one of the race.
Oh, look at this. AJ Moss, he's been on the podium in every race, and we talk about Jake Walker, the charge that he has had lately, and now it's BMW versus Ferrari, and the BMW seems to have come alive. I feel like that car did not have a good heavy rain setup on it at the beginning, and right now, though, it seems to really be coming alive. Walker putting all kinds of pressure on AJ Moss. BMW versus Ferrari through turn 9.
Well, how impressive is it, too, for Walker to put his difficulties in the beginning of the race behind him? We talked at the time about you just need to keep your head down. 1 yellow brings you right back into the conversation, and that's exactly what's happened. Oscar Tunho will see the white flag here, Brian. 1 lap left to go in the rain at Mid-Ohio.
Perhaps some vindication for yesterday, and dodged a bullet with that call that was erroneously entered onto the screen, called correctly over the radio, but on the screen probably took everyone's breath away. I'm wondering if they even told Oscar that on the radio in the car when they saw it. And look at AJ Moss with a huge slide off of turn 1. He knows Walker's there. He knows he needs to focus forward, get everything he can out of that Ferrari. ABS activating into the brake zone of the keyhole. Meanwhile, Oscar Tunho looking for his win here at Mid-Ohio, taken away from him yesterday with a mistake of his own doing, but he's going to try to get it done today. It would be his first win in the VP Racing Sports Car Challenge and in IMSA competition, but he still has a half a lap to go, and it is a treacherous half lap.
Oh, absolutely. This place, you can't sleep for a moment, especially in conditions like this. A couple of second place finishes in the last 2 races. He had pole for his debut in the championship at Circuit of the Americas before running out of fuel late in the race. That cost him a great result in race 1 at COTA, but it looks like maybe this is the day for that big breakthrough performance.
Gebhardt Intralogistics Motorsports looks like they will celebrate again. Just 2 more corners for Oscar Tuno. He has to get through those. Now 1 more. The 29-year-old Colombian looking for the checkered flag, and he sees it. Oscar Tuno with the victory in VP Racing SportsCar Challenge from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course, and just behind him, Adam Adelson back on the top step in VP Racing SportsCar Challenge. He wins in GTDX.
Fantastic job from Adam. He really sent a message at the start, as did Tuno. They were going to come through and challenge for the lead. And then Kiko Porto, who won the first 3 races of this season, has not won in back-to-back races, is about to put that to rights through the final turn. There's the checkered flag for the Brazilian. Kiko Porto back in victory lane for the 4th time.
Absolutely love this sprint race, multi-class format, Ryan. And, I mean, the 45-minute race here with the drama, the rain, Mother Nature putting her hand in the mix. I'll tell you what, I feel like we called a 2-hour race. There was plenty of excitement for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Great racing in the rain as well. I know there was some trepidation about track conditions at the start of this, but quite frankly, to go as clean as we did for 45 minutes, one of the most difficult tracks to drive on in the wet in North America, and this field by and large did a tremendous job. I thought that's what sports car racing in the rain, multi-class racing in the rain should look like. Just outstanding.
Yeah, super good, and it's amazing to me we didn't have more incidents, and it's like you said, I mean, I think it speaks to the quality of the driving that we have here. Drivers like to come here, both drivers on their way up and drivers who just like the sprint race format, to come here and learn multi-class racing or just enjoy multi-class racing. There's a look at your results from the day. And why is Valentino Catalano? Did I miss something?
Well, my timing and scoring screen still puts Tuno as the race winner. That doesn't mesh with the graphic, so we'll have to get to the bottom of this one. We'll see what happens, but one of the 2 Gebhardt teammates, I believe we could say with some certainty, is going to take the win.
Yeah, 2 different timing systems in use by IMSA, and one of them has Catalano as the victor, I should say, and the other has Oscar Tuno as the victor. One thing's for sure, we certainly know, we're being told now it is the 31. We certainly know that Adam Adelson took the victory in GTDX, and as you said, Kiko Porto returning to the top step of the podium in GSX. So, man, it's crazy enough that even timing and scoring gets a little mixed up, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of race, especially when we had, one penalty called one way by radio, different on the screen. I mean, look, these things happen. We got the right result at the end of things, but maybe another little heart rate jump there for the 31 crew, seeing that graphic there at the end of the race. But at the end of the day, there's the checkered flag for the Colombian Oscar Tuno, who drove a tremendous race.
Yeah, Oscar Tuno pulls up to Johnny Knotts there, who is control of pit lane, hands him the checkered flag, said, "Give me that, that's mine." And there's a look at the correct order. Tuno up front. Adam Adelson dodges a big bullet there after that contact with Corey Lewis. He takes the victory, and you look a little bit further back. Tell you what, you look at some of these drivers. Matt Dalton did a great job in these conditions. Stephen Clemens, again, proving that he deserves the podium finishes that he has been getting. Roden Unessi, those problems that he had yesterday in GTDX, he didn't even start the race today, so they could not get that Ferrari back running the way it should. So not the weekend that he wanted, but for this young man, Oscar Tuno, congratulations on your first win in IMSA competition. He climbs out. Good stuff. Challenging conditions today, Ryan, and the multi-class racing like we talked about, absolutely fantastic.
It was in difficult conditions. Credit to everybody involved, and congratulations to Tuno. This was a hard-earned win.
Hard-earned win. You can see the emotion and almost that breath being let out going, I did it. I finally did it. He gets a chance to do it from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. That's up next on the schedule for VP Racing SportsCar Challenge. Make sure you join us. job, Ryan.